you know, like us Southerners do, we always start with dessert first. And so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the pudding, because it's back on the table. The thing about this pudding is that I want it to sit for just a little bit to thicken up. Actually, it's pretty thick as it is. So I'm going to start with the last page, which is a chocolate peanut butter avocado pudding. And my trusty old beat up food processor, it's all plugged in, haha, this time, and ready to go. Now I'm using peanut butter. I'm using just really good fat in this recipe. So I'm using peanut butter. I'm using avocado for the fat. It just makes it really, really rich. So you don't want to eat too much. Now I've already sliced this avocado in half because I've already made some in the back. And I'm just going to score it, cutting through to the rind right now. Have you done avocados before? Do you like avocados?
I have no idea.
Okay. This is a really good high fat fruit. Lots of Mexican dishes use avocado, but see how easily the avocado comes out when you just score it? Sir?
Sell them here?
Yeah, everything I'm using tonight is sold here in the store. Downstairs, do you know guacamole? Guacamole is made with avocado. This is a really nice, real rich. You use it kind of like a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit. And then the peanut butter. Now I'm using this kind of peanut butter. This is a Crazy Richard's peanut butter, because it was the only thing I could find down in our aisles that didn't have any sugar in it. So this is just peanuts ground up, no sugar, no added oil, nothing but 100% peanuts. So I'm using that. Because I'm using the peanut butter that has no salt in it, I'm going to add salt to this recipe. Because it says, as you read it, it says it's salted, creamy, or crunchy peanut butter, and we didn't have any that didn't have sugar in it. This original recipe was not sugar-free. The things you can use if you don't want to use stevia, which is what I'm using tonight, because it's a natural low glycemic, low calorie sweetener. You can use maple syrup, again another low calorie. It won't spike your insulin. Banana. Now banana is like super sweet, and it is high on the glycemic index. That's why when you're making desserts for people that have metabolic issues or diabetics, you don't want to use, it's okay if you use bananas, you just don't want to use too much of them, because it'll still spike insulin, just not as badly as straight sugar. Okay, so that was the banana whole and super ripe. And the cool thing, downstairs we have bags of super ripe bananas, and they're over in the half-price fruit section. They think we can't use them. Wah! Silly people. So this is salt. I'm just putting a little salt in there. And then this is a half a cup of cocoa powder. You can use more or less cocoa powder. Whatever you like. And now these are dates, and these are pitted dates. So what I'm going to do is just give these a light chop, just to make sure there's no hidden pits in here. We also have chopped dates downstairs in the dried fruit section, but The chopped dates are coated in dextrose, and I have tried sugar-free treats before, and sometimes I find that the dextrose actually doesn't do well on my stomach. So I prefer just to use the pitted dates, nothing added except for pitted dates. Actually, something subtracted, which was the pits. Okay, so this is like a half a cup of dates. And then stevia is, and it'll say so on the package, but it's not a one-to-one situation. You use less of this instead of sugar. You don't use the whole thing. So this is a Food Club. This is our brand of stevia, and so this was a 1/4 cup of dates, and it calls for a half a cup of stevia or date paste. I'm using a little of both because I don't like straight stevia. So I've used dates to sweeten, and I'm just using a little stevia. This is just like a tablespoon, a couple of tablespoons, instead of a 1/4 cup. And that'll be just fine. I'm going to add a little vanilla, which isn't in the recipe. You guys remember to bring a pen all the time so you can make notes, because you know I never follow the recipes precisely. So I've added a little vanilla and then 1/4 cup of milk. And then I'm going to give this a whirl. I hope. Stevia is a plant-based sweetener. So instead of, okay, here we go again. Instead of like when you're doing sugar-free desserts and you don't want to use aspartame or any kind of chemical, stevia actually is a natural plant that sweetens, and it's not bad. Haha! I always think I got this, and then I don't. That time just wasn't plugged. Okay, I'm just going to let that go for just a few minutes. I'm starting with dessert first, and I'm making the pudding. This pudding is incredibly forgiving, and you just you keep adding stuff to it. You know, you can use until it's at a consistency that you like. Like you can add coffee to it. You can add coffee would be really good with this. Banana and chocolate and coffee is just a natural together. I'm just pulling around things to the side because this is not as you know, this poor little blender, this poor old food processor. And just chugging along. It's all beat up, but it still works. I've also made whipped cream with a little of the stevia as well and heavy cream. So that on the table back there, it's a sugar-free whipped cream. Okay, so this is the pudding. This is the last recipe in the package, and it's the pudding. And I've used the Crazy Richard's peanut butter, which is downstairs in the natural food section, the first aisle down here. I'm using this peanut butter because there's nothing in it but peanuts. So there's no palm oil, there's no sugar. So I'm keeping with my sugar-free stuff. I'm using phyllo shells to pipe the chocolate pudding into. And because it's also sugar-free. And it makes like a nice little tart. And then just 2% milk. But I'm using stevia. I'm using half stevia and half dates, the pitted dates. I'm using whole pitted dates instead of, there's also chopped dates. These are chopped dates. So these are chopped dates, and those are down in which I use a lot in my oatmeal and stuff at home. But I didn't use these because, again, these are coated in dextrose, and I really didn't want to do that. I just wanted to keep this as clean as I could. So pitted dates, and then additional to the recipe that's not on in your recipe ingredients is a little bit of vanilla. The stevia, I only used like a couple of teaspoons. So it's not like a whole quarter cup of sweetener. It's a quarter cup or a whole half cup of sweetener. It's a quarter cup of dates, and then just a couple of teaspoons of stevia, because stevia still has a taste of not sugar. So I wanted to keep kind of that batted down. Again, the Crazy Richard's nut butter doesn't have any salt in it, so I added a little salt to the recipe as well. And then downstairs, closer to the coolers on the back wall, there's a stack of fruits that are overripe, and that's where you can get a bunch of great deals on bananas. So and I was worried about that because sometimes we don't have them, but I got a really good bunch of bananas. So that's this. And you just keep beating it until it doesn't have any lumps. Yep. You can use orange liqueur in it. You can use a whole bunch of different flavorings in it if you don't want to use just vanilla. It's just infinitely forgiving. And then you just have a real pudding. Looks like that. And that's just with the avocado and the banana. Sometimes I use tofu as well. It just depends on what kind of protein I'm looking for to balance the meal. But we've got a protein tonight in the pork chop, so I thought the avocado would be fun. Okay, I think that'll do it. Pretty good, okay. And you just keep processing it until it's smooth like you like it. And then you pipe it into your shells. I just used a regular Ziploc bag and cut off the ends of it. We've done that before. questions so far? This gives a really nice, rich pudding. See, no eggs, no sugar, still really, really rich, and you don't have to sit on a stove for a half an hour for the custard. Ta-da! I'm just going to put this in the fridge. See? Looks just like this. Pudding cup, okay. I used, what I used was we don't have date paste, so I used pitted dates. You get that in the fruit section. And this is just pitted dates, not the chopped dates, because the chopped dates is coated in dextrose, and that causes some digestive problems occasionally with people. So just the regular pitted dates, and I gave them a bit of a chop before I put them in the food processor. A fourth of a cup of pitted dates and just a couple of teaspoons of the stevia powder. You can use, if you want, instead of stevia powder, you can use maple syrup. We're using maple syrup again tonight. Whereas maple syrup is a sugar, it doesn't spike insulin. As a matter of fact, it contains polyphenols that helps to aid in digestion, and it actually helps move the insulin around your system. Works really well. Not on this recipe. You can use honey. Again, any kind of natural except for the sugar. It's okay. Just don't eat too much of it. But honey will change the taste of it. You know, the thing that makes it so it makes it as chocolatey as possible would be just sugar. But because everything else has a flavor to it. I mean, the dates have a flavor to it. The bananas, which is super sweet, also have a flavor to it. So what would make it just pure chocolate flavor would be pumping up the chocolate, using chocolate liqueur, and using regular sugar. But I'm not doing any of that because I wanted to keep it sugar-free tonight. So.